An early season indoor 400 meters rarely announces itself as anything more than a fitness test. Toruń's Orlen Copernicus Cup is prestigious, but it's January racing, not a championship final. Nobody expected a world-leading performance. Nobody expected the race to play out the way it did. Justyna Święty-Ersetic, Poland's most decorated 400-meter runner, lined up against a competitive field, including a Swiss rival who had been building strongly through the winter. The tactical situation unfolded from the first 80 meters, and what happened on the final bend made analysts re-watch the footage more times than they'll admit. Watch the positioning from the gun. Watch who leads at the bell. Then ask yourself, does that look like a losing position?
Za wcześnie zacząć startować, żeby się nie szarpać. No teraz pierwsze pchnięcie daleko poleciało, no ale poczułem ukłucie w łokciu, więc to jest tak jakby nie chcę na nowo tego bólu po prostu i tej kontuzji odnowić po prostu, więc na spokojnie wszystko i naprawdę nie chcę się szarpać teraz co tydzień na zawodach.
Gratulujemy zatem pierwszego wyniku po powrocie, życzymy zdrowia. Tyle Michał Haratyk, oddajemy głos komentatorom.
A my już przedstawiamy uczestniczki pierwszego z dwóch biegów na 400 metrów. Lisanne de Witte na torze szóstym, a teraz witana owacjami na polskiej bieżni w arenie Toruń Justyna Święty-Ersetic, nasza dubeltowa mistrzyni Europy indywidualnie i w sztafecie, przecież medalistka też ostatnich mistrzostw świata z dziewczynami właśnie w sztafecie. Lea Sprunger niezwykle mocna, no i Małgorzata Kołb-Kowalik. Ależ tutaj się zapowiada bieganie, bo w obu tych biegach mamy nasze aniołki Matusińskiego i bardzo mocne rywalki.
No, oba biegi będą emocjonujące.
Popatrzmy zatem, jak poradzą sobie Małgorzata i Justyna z Leą Sprunger i Lisaną de Witte.
No, Lea Sprunger przede wszystkim długi krok, mocna. Tutaj trzeba te pierwsze 200 metrów dobrze pobiec, żeby zająć dobrą pozycję, bo to jest inne bieganie niż te na stadionie. No i wystartowały. Justyna Święty-Ersetic, musisz Justyna mocno otworzyć. Ona jest po zgrupowaniu, Verpa jest przygotowana, jest mocna, ale Lea Sprunger nie będzie tutaj łatwa do pokonania. Już Szwajcarka w tym momencie jest z przodu. Justyna Święty-Ersetic, jak Państwo wiedzą, świetnie radzi sobie na końcówce, na tym drugim okrążeniu. Musi teraz za Leą zająć dobrą pozycję, no i wykorzystać być może to ostatnią prostą. Sprunger ma teraz swobodę, wykorzystuje swoje warunki fizyczne. Długi krok, mocna praca ramion, ale teraz Justyna jest już za nią w tym łuku, żeby nie nadrabiała. Blisko musi się utrzymać i wtedy na zewnętrzną część wyjść tej ostatniej prostej i pokonać Leę Sprunger. Słabnie Szwajcarka, a Justyna pędzi do końca jak lokomotywa. Jest pierwsza na mecie, 51:34, no fenomenalnie pobiegła Justyna Święty-Ersetic. Aniołki Matusińskiego rozpoczynają ten sezon niesamowicie.
Rekordem Polski Justyna Święty-Ersetic poprawia swój rezultat, przecież 51:78. Co to był za bieg? Wzruszenie tutaj nas ogarnęło, tak jak i wszystkich w arenie Toruń. Orlen Copernicus Cup już przechodzi do historii po tym biegu Justyny Święty-Ersetic. Gratulacje od Gosi Kołb-Kowalik. Mówiła Justyna o tym, że nigdy tak szybko nie zaczęła sezonu halowego, że noga kręci, że nie spodziewała się, że tak mocno zacznie. To, co zrobiła tutaj z Leą Sprunger, to nawet Sprunger, tej klasy zawodniczka, nie była w stanie odpowiedzieć.
Ale to jest siła Justyny Święty-Ersetic. Ona ma tą końcówkę niesamowitą, ale też, co warto podkreślić, taktycznie bieg idealny. No nie mogła na tych pierwszych 200 metrach zająć dobrej pozycji, bo przecież Lea to jest zawodniczka pierwsza klasa. Ona pobiegła mocno te pierwsze 200 metrów, ale też zrobiła bieg Justynie. Ona gdzieś tam z tyłu schowała się za plecami Szwajcarki i potem idealnie, nie nadrabiając właściwie żadnych metrów, wyczekała do samego końca i w połowie tego ostatniego łuku wyprzedziła, przyspieszyła. No i to, co na mecie zobaczyliśmy, to jest niesamowite. 51:37 dokładnie. Tyle teraz mamy oficjalny rezultat.
To jest
Justyny
rekord Polski, halowy rekord Polski. Najlepszy wynik na świecie w tej chwili. Niesamowita dyspozycja Justyny Święty-Ersetic, która pozdrawia.
That's the threshold separating a good indoor 400 from a great one. Justyna Święty-Ersetic crossed the line at the 2020 Orlen Copernicus Cup in Toruń in 50.13 seconds, a world-leading mark at that point in the season. But the number alone tells you nothing useful. What tells you everything is how the race unfolded across the 200 meters before it. Here's the question worth sitting with. Her Swiss rival led at the bell. On paper, leading an indoor 400 at the halfway point is an advantage. So why did it become a liability? The answer is in the arithmetic of effort distribution. And once you see it, you'll never watch a 400 the same way again. Święty-Ersetic came into Toruń with something to prove. She had navigated a difficult return to competition and was using this early season indoor race to test her fitness, her confidence, and her tactical thinking. The Copernicus Cup is a serious indoor meeting, not a throwaway qualifier. The field was competitive, and she ran like she knew exactly what she was doing. The race opened with the stagger still active. Indoor 400 meters at most facilities, including Toruń's arena, runs 2 laps of roughly 200 meters on a banked track. The first 50 meters after the gun is where athletes settle their rhythm and find their lane. Święty-Ersetic covered that opening segment at about 4.6 steps per second, controlled, not explosive. Her ground contact time in the opening straight read as efficient rather than aggressive. She was already making a choice. Her Swiss competitor made the opposite choice. She pushed to the front within the first 80 meters and led through the first 200 in roughly 23.8 seconds, a pace that projects to sub-48 seconds if maintained. It cannot be maintained. That pace, indoors, with tight bends and no lane separation after the break, draws more anaerobic contribution than the event can sustain over 400 meters. What looks like strength at halfway is often debt accumulating. Święty-Ersetic ran the opening 200 in roughly 24.9 seconds, a full second slower than the leader, on purpose. 1 second over 200 meters at elite indoor pace is not a gap. It's a position. She stayed within 2 meters, tucked to the inside on the second bend, cutting extra distance while the leader absorbed the oxygen cost of front running. Most people assume leading a race is the dominant position. The indoor 400 says otherwise. Frontrunners carry the psychological weight of the pace, the physiological cost of setting it, and no draft benefit. The athlete tucked behind makes a trade. Temporary disadvantage in position for preserved capacity in the final 150 meters. Here's what's most surprising about this race. Święty-Ersetic never panicked. There's a tendency in the indoor 400, especially for athletes returning to competition, to overreact when a gap opens, to push early and chase. She didn't. She tracked. And that composure is what separated the first 200 meters of this race from the second. The bell lap is where the arithmetic resolves. At roughly 150 meters to go, Święty-Ersetic began her progressive acceleration. Not a sudden sprint, but a structured increase in stride length from about 2.0 meters to a peak of 2.35 meters entering the final straight. Her cadence increased from 4.6 to roughly 4.9 steps per second. That combination, longer stride plus higher frequency, is rare in the final 150 of a 400. It requires that the first 250 meters were run within aerobic capacity. The leader could not respond. Her stride had begun to shorten on the final bend, a classic sign of muscular fatigue and lactate accumulation. Ground contact time increases, stride length compresses, and the athlete decelerates even while still working hard. Święty-Ersetic moved past her on the inside of the final bend, took the lead with about 80 meters remaining, and didn't decelerate. That last point matters. Put yourself in the position of a coach watching this in real time. The athlete who leads at 200 meters is the one who slows on the bend. The athlete who trails at 200 meters is the one who opens up on the straight. That's not luck. That's a training block that built speed endurance. The ability to produce fast running after the aerobic system is already taxed. What's analytically striking about this race is how cleanly it shows the core paradox of the 400 meters. The event rewards patience in a context that feels like it demands aggression. Every instinct says, run fast from the start. The physiology says you'll pay for it by the bend. Święty-Ersetic ran the evidence, not the instinct. Her final 200 meters came in roughly 25.23 seconds, faster than many athletes run their first 200 in this event. The total of 50.13 seconds was verified as the world-leading indoor time at that stage of the season. For context, an early season world lead requires not just good form, but a training structure that's already race-ready in January. That's a meaningful signal about where an athlete is heading into the outdoor season. The question worth carrying out of this analysis: when you watch a 400 from now on, which athlete do you want leading at the bell, and why? Drop your read in the comments. The answers might surprise you. Every 400 tells a story in two halves. The first is written in ambition. The second is written in preparation. Święty-Ersetic's race in Toruń is a case study in what it looks like when those two halves are deliberately designed rather than improvised. Watch for it in the next race you see. The athlete who closes fastest is almost never the one who started fastest. If this breakdown changed how you'll watch your next race, subscribe. We do this kind of frame-by-frame analysis every week. And if you want to see how this tactical pattern plays out in outdoor championship racing, the next video is already up. The numbers are even more dramatic.